Learn the most advanced recruiting techniques. Land the most desirable talent. Launch your company towards massive success. This is the Higher Power Radio Show with Rick Girard.
The good and great results of full company transparency. There's a growing movement for full openness within companies, and it's pretty common within tech startups. The more open you are, the more engaged your people become. I'm Rick Girard, and welcome to the Higher Power Radio Show. Our mission is to provide proven tactical solutions to solve your company's toughest hiring challenges. Every day, we share insights from top-performing entrepreneurs and industry experts, like our guest today, Sang Huynh. Sang is actually a mentor at Quake Capital Partners and the former COO of Tint, tintup.com. Tint was actually a marketing tech startup located in San Francisco that exited recently. And one of Tint's guiding principles was to cultivate transparency both internally and externally. From open door meetings, exposed financials, including compensation, and group-based decision-making. Prior to that, he was actually a VP in the global security group over at Bank of America Merrill Lynch, which I'm guessing was the polar opposite of that. Yeah. So he's here to share his experience as a former leader at the two organizations with a polar opposite approach to culture. Sang, welcome to the Higher Power Radio Show today.
Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. So we always start with a quote. Today's quote is, "A lack of transparency results in distrust and a deep sense of insecurity." Any idea who said that?
Yes, I have an answer key to it. It's Dalai Lama, right?
Absolutely. Spot on. So today we're going to cover what is transparency and why it's important. We're going to talk about what works and what doesn't, and based on your experience. And then, of course, we're going to talk about transparency in the hiring process, which is my favorite piece. So let's start by talking a little bit about your experience when you were at Tint.
Yeah. So everything is open, including at one point, even our financials. I'm talking about like bank statement and balance was published on a website. And I think one day one customer saw that. I was like, wow, you guys are very little. We can't have a contract with you. We're like, ooh, that just hurt business. So we pull it back. But that's how transparent the company.
You had your financial bank statements open to your customers or potential customers?
Online. Anyone can take a look at it. It was extreme transparency, as you can imagine. Yeah.
Okay. That is extreme. Okay. So I can imagine having it internally open, but externally, I can see how that could cause problems.
Yeah. So the first time I came across the transparency concept actually was my first trip to San Francisco. Well, not first trip, but the tech trip. And it was Square, where they have open office with no door. I thought it was fascinating being in Merrill Lynch where, our meeting is in behind
everything's closed door and you don't
people
see
whisper thing they hear, but you don't really know true or not.
There's a lot of water cooler talk going on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that was the first experience I had. I was like, that's kind of awesome being the other side. And then jumping to Tint, I was like, holy moly, this is on another end. I end up at the spectrum.
So just as a new employee jumping from one end of the frying pan to another way, how did you react to that?
It was refreshing. It's refreshing, but I remember when I was negotiating my salary, just like any of us trying to get a new job and get the most you can get paid.
Sure.
It was frustrating and weird because including salary, the way we approach salary, how much we pay each person is exposed throughout the entire company. And when you have that kind of exposure, the way you approach it needs to be structured in a formula. And so what I'm thinking, like, when they asked me, like, yeah, this is the salary we have, and this is the formula for it, take it or leave it. It was one of those.
Sure.
And it was weird. But then once you're in there, it's like, oh, this is just refreshing, right? Knowing everything, seeing everything, no whisper of, I heard this. And then so I genuinely loved it. And it's the same sentiment with new employee we brought in when we expanded across UK.
Now, in the hiring process, was it a group decision on what salary they came up with for you? Or was it already, okay, here's what the salary is, and that's what we can pay, and that's it?
Yeah, it's a predefined. So we have a predefined formula, and that formula has where you live is one factor. How long you've been working is another factor. Your job title, and that get technically calibrated with pay structure. So during the interview,
that requires a lot of thought, though, up front. a lot of planning in order for you to be able to structure out salaries like that.
Yeah, every year there we refresh the data, and during the interview, that's where. Well, I think the one variable that can really change it a little is your seniority, or how much experience you have, and that can change the output of it. But it wasn't much wiggle room. Like you can convince someone I'm actually 0.4 senior versus 0.3, and that because also the formula is transparent.
Yeah.
We share that with the prospect to say, hey, this is how we came to your job and your salary.
But if somebody came back and said, okay, look, I'm interested, we're about $5,000 off.
Non-negotiable.
You just pass on them.
No, well, we bring it back to the team. And if majority of the people agrees that, yeah, this person actually that good, where they're that much more senior, not the amount, but by that variable inside.
But you're basing it on seniority as opposed to impact that they can bring to the organization?
Well, it's a correlated variable. So the more senior experience, I'm air quoting, you are, then technically we expect a bigger impact from you joining the team. And it's not an amount that's negotiable. So we plug that variable into a formula.
Sure.
And whatever comes out, you might get more than 5. Right. And that's just the beauty of this structure approach.
Oh, they might come back and say, oh, here, 7 or 10K.
Yeah.
Okay.
For our formula, you're getting 7, by the way. Congratulations.
Good job pushing that. All right. So that's an interesting play on why you guys would do that. Let's talk about what worked and what didn't work.
So what worked really well for us is being able to make that offer and someone accept it because the new...
Well, let's go back to just transparency in general. Now, when you published your financials out for the public to see, that obviously didn't work. That was a bad idea, right?
It was fine until we lose business. And then, we have to pull it back. We didn't want to cause concern to our customers.
Yeah. And so what did work then? What kind of gave those customers or even your employees a sense of ownership? What drew them in? What do you think was the number one thing?
The key thing really is about being involved in the business.
Sure.
Not and I believe what people value is to have the knowledge of where things are going. Because if you understand that company financial is not doing well due to a season like the winter season or something like that, you'll be more mindful about your output. You'll be more mindful about what you spend because we actually pay for lunch as well every day. We pay for your lunch, and people more mindful when they're engaged. They understand the business as a bigger picture.
But it also helps your employees plan better as how they spend.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
If they know what the financials are, they're not going to come back to you and say, oh, shoot, I got a big gambling debt I need help with.
And
well, they might, but...
That's distraction too. One of the theory, and by the way, I'm giving all this credit to the founder of the company, so I'm just joining into that. One of the belief is that when it comes to, for example, compensation is a really sensitive topic.
Sure.
Co-founder believes that people will know sooner or later. There's going to be one day you're at a bar, you talk about
people
it.
talk about salaries all the time. And, you know what? The funny thing is that everybody at my old company, they all knew what each other were making every paycheck.
Yes.
It wasn't like they didn't go look at it and they're waving it in front of each other's faces. I mean, it was just, it's whether or not you want to realize it, it's transparent anyway.
Yeah.
So just putting it out there and letting people know, I think cuts are a lot.
It reduces distractions.
Yes.
Right. And then, so now they're not thinking about, I wonder what that person getting paid. Like, actually, I got to get that person on board and work with me and to help me out and then start contributing fast. That whole variable, that wondering goes away. And then we see that. And it worked, like, again, being an employee myself before at a bank, I knew what all my colleagues made.
Yeah.
And one point where I found out where I was paying less, I'm not going to lie, I was in my early 20s. I was very unhappy. And that's the other side about it too, is, we think that people don't see these variables, but when they do, first of all, not knowing, wondering is a mental distractions. Sure. Eventually, when they just find out and they disagree with it somehow without having some kind of input or validations, now it is going to hurt productivity.
And that's the last thing you want to affect. Morale, productivity, and
engagement is ultimately what we look for.
So did you find that there was higher productivity and higher engagement because of this transparency?
Yes, absolutely.
Were they able to quantify that?
I would say the closest thing that we can quantify really is around, so every week we have, I forgot what the software name, we would run just anonymous survey and just measure engagement. We give people basically a void to complain, vent, and we don't know who it is. And that's the beauty of it. So even whether it's true or not, we always monitor people sentiment at all time through this survey system. And then there's time where we make a few changes and we immediately saw the output of that, right? Like, for example, being in a bank, I'm really strict on quarterly measure, like, hey, did we do what we say we're going to do? And toward that time, or especially for sale or customer successful renew rate or pipeline closing, you can immediately see the sentiment go down.
Sure.
Right, toward that stressful time. But that's the closest to it. Now, if you're thinking about business quality output, I kind of mentioned, I'm not sure I mentioned
what were the
this
customer results? I mean, were they happier customers then as a result of this transparency?
Yes. Because when you have happier employee, you have more engaged
But you don't have
employee.
you don't have any data to back that up, though.
The closest data I can prove that is all financial.
Yeah.
So Tint raised a couple $100,000 seed. It quickly became a profitable business, right? And then that profitable business was a decisions from the founder and the early employee about adopting transparency, focusing on profit.
You know what? I love that your founders thought of that first. If you're just joining us now on the live stream or the podcast, you're listening to the Higher Power Radio Show. I'm Rick Girard, and today our guest is Sang Huynh. He's a mentor at Quake Capital Partners and the former COO of tintup.com. So we're talking about organizational transparency. So let's translate that to the hiring process, because I always find that, and that's where the value comes for our listeners, right?
Yeah.
So you guys were transparent throughout the whole process, correct?
Yes. And that's result in sometimes we offer lower pay, but we beat out a higher pay competitor because how the prospect feel throughout the process, and that give them a glimpse of what's going to be.
Well, if people are emotionally engaged, they will actively neglect a higher compensation offer quite often.
That's true.
That happens to me quite a bit.
Yeah.
You know, if you're filling a void for somebody or really helping them to advance their career and getting them to where they want to go, doesn't matter what offer Amazon or Google made.
Yes. Yeah.
They'll forgo that.
And don't play the game with Amazon, Google, with whatever they publish, because you play that game.
Oh, you're
going to lose it, right?
Yeah, they put out there all the time exactly how they recruit and what they do, because they want you to play their game, right? This is what works for us. You should try it.
It won't, because you play someone else's game. They have a deeper pocket with bigger brand name. You lose. You got to come down to something different, creative. Right?
It's so very true. So what was your structure for transparency in the interview and hiring process?
So for the interview, first and foremost, from the very beginning, when we publish a job posting, we upfront about the salary range, right? Because the last thing we want to be selfish about this whole thing is going through this process and the salary expectation from the prospect and us is way off and wasted each other's time.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing we publish the range. Because the range, again, seniority and top bonus and all that in there. The other thing that we also do is manage expectation up front. So letting the prospect know when we're expecting to close the job. Right.
When you're going to fill it.
Yeah. And not more than fill it, like, hey, we're going to close the application on this date. So if you're just working on that cover letter, you want it to be perfect, we want to, like, in the next 3 weeks, we're going to stop taking applications. So
you'd run a job for 3 weeks and essentially
however long
the process.
Yeah, however long.
And you guys recruited most of your people via job boards, right?
Yeah, we actually get tremendous amount inbound. People actually go onto a website and apply. Due to that culture that we were very, the transparency culture that we published, talked about. I mean,
well, you're putting out good content that says, hey, we're an open, transparent culture, and people are drawn to that.
Yeah, and it's more than just content, and I want to emphasize it's more than content and a trick to get quality candidate, because sooner or later...
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a trick.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's good content that shows your company values and what you're about, and people get drawn to that, especially good people.
Mm-hmm. And we empower our team member to broadcast themselves through blogs. And then we adopted social media practice where you can post different thing and hashtag it and then bring to the website. We don't want to be the employer that said, hey, we're transparent. We wanted everyone in the company to validate that, say, hey, share that love, share that appreciation, or what you're excited about.
Yeah,
this culture that we're creating here.
So you're bringing a personal awareness to the brand and marketing that to people, and then people are applying within this specified time period where you're taking applications.
Yeah.
So you're setting really good expectations, right? That also kind of indirectly gets people to move on it quickly, like, either shit or get off the pot, because we're going to move on it whether or not you apply.
Yeah. And really trying to keep that prospect in the know. So after we put in the salary range, we set expectation when we're going to just kind of close the pool so you can't submit anymore. But when someone even submit an applications, initially it was so painful because we did this manually. We actually sent an email, said, hey, we got your application. Thank you. You can expect to hear from this. Now you can automate all that, right? But at the time we're like, you know what,
That's important that you do that. That gives people an idea of what's happening. It's managing expectations. You don't ghost people. I mean, you're right. You can automate it. It's super easy. But if you don't have the system set up to do it, when you get an application, thanks, we'll get back to you by this date. Super simple.
Yep.
You can just copy and paste that into
Pretty much, yeah. It was like one time, I think we have 200 applications. Like, oh my God, we should have set up a system. But we did copy and paste. And it's about being kind to the applicant.
Yeah.
It's from the get-go, right? It's not a lot of effort or work.
So you're demonstrating transparency through the whole process too.
Yes.
You're not just saying you're transparent. You're demonstrating it by telling everybody up front exactly what's happening. So, all right, we're managing expectations. We're providing a positive candidate experience or person experience, so let's talk about the interview process. So you reach out to somebody, you want to bring them in for an interview. How does transparency correlate through that process?
So with the interview, typically we make an intro there's two set of technical interview from two different interviewers. Again, we want to hedge in case someone had a bad day. We don't want, it's not fair for the candidate.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, now preparation is always a key component, whether or not you're getting the true self of the person you're interviewing.
Yes.
Are you preparing people up front for exactly what's going to happen, how it's going to happen, and when it's going to happen?
Yeah, so we give every candidate a technical challenge. Everyone has the same, so they'll have a chance to prepare for these questions that we're about to ask them, and then just being prepared for that. We also let them know who's going to be interviewing them, so give them a chance to even connect with that person on LinkedIn ahead and do the homework. The objective though is you got to get the candidate to feel comfortable. Because if you don't, you're not getting a true assessment. And oftentimes, you're going to get more of a salesy type A candidate who did really well when it comes to maybe public speaking interview, but might not do so well when it comes to the actual job. So we make an extra effort in getting the candidate feel comfortable. And
worse yet is when you get a candidate who's very nervous interviewing. Those are sometimes the best candidates, but you end up passing on them because they did so poorly. And it's really important that you do make them comfortable. All right, so was there an actual structure?
Assuming the candidate passed the pre-qualifications, before we get to the interview, we send out the challenge, and then basically there's something that we're going to be talking about.
So before you even talk to anybody, you're doing a challenge first?
Oh, we'll have a screen. So that's the next thing. So after we're skipping, right? So after the candidate sent in the application, we send an email, said, hey, we got your thing, expect to hear from this date. If we don't get back by that date, we got to reach back out and said, hey, we have explosive input volume right now. It's going to take a little longer. Keep the candidate engaged and in the nose. Once we did the filtering, if you did not pass, then we also sent an email and said, hey.
So how long was your interview process lasting?
Oh my gosh. I'm not sure this is good or bad, but it literally, the process would take like 3 months.
3 months from start to finish?
Yeah.
Ooh, way too long.
Yes.
When you bring somebody in for an interview, let's say I come in to interview for your company for a recruiter job. Maybe you're trying to recruit me. So I come in and I meet with you. What are we discussing in reference to transparency?
We don't cover the transparency topic specifically.
No, but I mean, you're being transparent. So let me give you an idea of what I mean. So you're probably discussing things like the actual product or the company challenges that you're having. You're probably discussing or do you discuss people challenges? Like, we're a really good organization, my team is really good, and you'd be on this team. However, we have to interface with this person over here, and he's kind of a jackass.
Oh, no. That's like HR violation. No, we can't throw someone under the bus. But
you're not throwing them under a bus, but at least you're prepping him for what to expect.
Yeah, so...
and I would probably say it in a nicer way than, hey, Bob over in shipping's a jackass. No.
Well, as a COO of the company, every interview that I sat in, by the very end, is either myself, I'm always sitting in every single one actually. I always remind the prospect that, hey, this is a two-way street. Like as much as we're interviewing you right now, this is your chance to observe our behavior, what we say, how we are. Your chance to ask us questions too, because we don't want you to come in here and not feeling happy. And then so
Now, some companies actually do where they'll have the candidate come in and work for the day and just get to know people and be immersed in that environment. Did you guys do anything like that?
we don't do that to extreme. What we do, we bring the candidates in for the interview. After that, we take them to a group lunch. It's crazy it sounds, but yeah, everyone on the team watching. Oh, by the way, the interview is being broadcast across the company. Anyone can jump in and watch.
Oh, really? So it's a live stream.
Yeah. So
your interview is a podcast or a podcast.
Pretty much. And we record that for anyone who missed the interview, would like to watch the interview. Well, this is not public at this point. It's all just private inside the company. But yes, we...
So that's the barrier for transparency.
Yeah, we literally broadcast the interview. There's the selected members that get to ask the questions. But the interview itself will get broadcast across the company. And after that, everyone get a chance to go to lunch and you get to say hi, meet people. And you can hang out and talk to people throughout after if you choose to. That option's always there.
So if I'm a new company, how would you recommend that I build transparency into my company? Like what would be the 5 steps that I need to take in order for it to be a transparent organization?
Yeah, so I was going to focus on recruit. There's so much more to it than that, right? So for recruit would be like, again, I'm going to do a quick recap. Number one would be when you publish the job posting, set expectation up front. What's the salary range, the date? Once the application gets submitted, again, being transparent about when this person can hear back. That just acknowledging that. Number 3 would be if the person did not make the round, please send them a note to let them know that.
Close the loop.
Yeah, close the loop. If you're missing a deadline, you think you can miss a get back deadline, make sure you send that question to let them know, like, hey, we're running late because the volume. Once you get to the actual screening on the phone call, we send email ahead about what the conversation is going to be like. These are the question that we're going to be asking.
And what was the last thing? Preparation?
Yeah, so the preparation, let them know who's going to be interview them, the names, and give them a chance to connect with the person on LinkedIn background. The key, make them feel comfortable and know what they're walking into.
Fantastic. I agree with all those. I think the last one would be follow-up. Make sure that you follow up with them, close the loop.
Yes.
Keep them coming. A lot of times we'll chase people when we want to hire them, but when we decide we don't want to hire them, we just let them go. And that ain't cool.
No, it's not. It's especially when the very end, after the interview, we make, again, please make my highly recommend is make that phone call, letting them know where in the interview. At that point, you probably have 2 to 3 candidates, so that phone call worth the investment. Might
show some empathy and keep them open for a later date.
Yeah, it's an experience, right?
Yep.
You want to show the great experience in engaging, interacting with your company.
Saying we're out of time. So I want to thank you for your time investment today and welcome to the Higher Power Radio community. I know that you're open for engagements and doing some other things out there. What's the best way for the members of our community to find out more about you or reach you?
It's LinkedIn. So Sang at Sang Huynh and look for Tint or I'm there. But can I quickly give a shout out to thanks?
Sure.
So first of all, Rick, thank you.
Absolutely.
Every time I talk to you, I've learned something new. Every time I share mistakes, I can tell you exactly why. So seriously, guy, like every time I talk to Rick, I learn something new.
Oh, thank you.
You when it comes to hiring, don't go any further. Like hit the guy. No, seriously, I genuinely meant that.
Here, I'm slipping $5 into the table right now.
And lastly, I just want to take a moment because the culture that I'm talking about really came from 2 key persons that pushed it forward was Sarah and Jessica. I'm not sure they're going to listen to this, but I want to shout out to my old teammate. Yeah. And more importantly, the founders. None of this could happen without that founder support. And then you can say your transparency, but unless you live it, people can know you're
so lying. Very true. Yeah. All right. I want to thank our listening audience for tuning into this week's episode of Higher Power. A quick thanks to our team, our engineer, Paul Roberts, our creative director, Ayla Gerard, our producers, Andrea Ballin and Shanti Ryle. If you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review. We need your feedback to bring more valuable content to you. Check us out at higherpowerradio.com or follow me on Instagram at rickgerard1. Tune in next week. Our guest is going to be Brian Breath. He is the recruiting manager for Riot Games. I'm Rick Gerard, your host, and you've been listening to the Higher Power Radio Show. Aloha.
Thank you for listening to Higher Power with Rick Gerard on OC Talk Radio.